Hello, Ayubowan. Welcome to the midwinter episode of Wool and the Forest. Thank you so much for coming back. If you are a returning viewer, listener to the podcast, thanks so much for joining me in the middle of this beautiful midwinter that we're having. And if you are a new listener, a new watcher of the podcast, welcome. Welcome to the Gingerbread Cottage. Welcome to this cozy little space of Wool and the Forest. Please feel free to check out some of my older podcasts and older videos. Remember to subscribe and to like if you like what you see in this episode. And there's plenty more episodes in my archives on my YouTube channel. There's also some crafting tutorials, some cooking demonstrations and tutorials. We do a whole lot of things here on Wool and the Forest, not just slow textiles and knitting and spinning and weaving and dyeing, hand-dyed, indigo-dyed fabrics and all of that. It's not just the textile end. We also do a lot of what we call living by example of a small life lived well, and showing how we live a very small life indeed, but making it beautiful and living it beautifully and living in very close alignment and connection with the beautiful natural world that's around us, and encouraging all of that in you. So that's what Wool in the Forest is all about. So I hope you like this episode. I hope you like what you see here if you are new to the podcast. But if you're one of my older friends, old viewers, hello, welcome back. Happy New Year's. I hope you had a beautiful midwinter celebration, however it is that you celebrate that time of year. We are coming off the most beautiful midwinter we've had in a very long time. We've had so much snow already. It started to snow on Christmas Day, actually. Yes, and it snowed and snowed, and the snow stayed for weeks, and it's only just starting to leave from the edges of the verges, and it's really only there's some snow deep in the forest that we can see in the most shady and coolest parts, but most of the snow has gone, but there's still plenty to see on the hills, and the mountains are completely covered in snow. So it's been a beautiful time, and we've been hunkered down in the cottage and just, enjoying this lovely, quiet, slow time with the family around the fire, and it's been beautiful. And we'll share a few images of that in Changes in the Verge later on. But today I'm actually going to change the format of the podcast a little bit. And I've decided to see how it will work if we move a moment for silence to the middle of the podcast. We can try that out today and see. It will not be a very long podcast, I do have to say. I really got in front of the camera today to make a very big announcement. Something I've been hinting at for a while, but I haven't really been able to come out and say till now. About some big changes for us as a family and for the whole venture project thing that is Wool in the Forest. And also just to very quickly share a few things that I've been making. I have done so much making, despite having been very unwell for the majority of the autumn. And that's something I haven't actually spoken about on a podcast. I think I left a message for my wonderful patrons on Patreon about having been out of commission for a while, and saying that I will reveal very soon why. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. What happened that knocked me off my feet for almost 3 months. It was horrendous, but all for a good cause. And today I get to reveal to you what that good cause is. And I think I'll have enough time to maybe share very quickly a few projects that I've been working on some crafting and textile work that I've been doing. But I think reserve most of the detailed showing and sharing for a follow-up episode that I hope I can do soon. So today's podcast will be more of sort of an open format, and let's see how we go. Yes, but right now let's get into what this big news is that I've been holding so close to my heart and need to share with you all. So, a little sip of sustenance before I plunge in. So, here it is. I am pregnant again. Yes. So, Arik and I are expecting another baby sometime in the middle of summer, sometime around midsummer. And that is why I was so incredibly unwell in the autumn period. It was a complete surprise, completely unexpected. We were pretty sure that we were done. Well, we were sure we were done with our babies after baby Usha was born. We were very content with the 3 beautiful children that we already have, and which is the reason why I decided that it was time for me to take my textile work, my fiber work, my art to the next level and to make a life out of it, to support our own small life using all of my skills, which I had never done before because I was just so busy being a mother. So this is the reason that we started everything we started. And literally 2 months after we opened the doors to Wool in the Forest, 2 months after we opened the door, not even 2 months, maybe like a month and a half since we opened the door to Patreon and released all of our projects. And weeks before we were meant to release our big sort of grand boutique opening of where I would have had my first shop opening really, and being able to sell some of my first makes, textile makes and fiber makes, I found out that I was pregnant. And it all happened very fast. I was sick within about a week of realizing that I was pregnant. And I have to say, I don't think at any one point in my life with anything that I have faced that I have been as sick as I was those 6 to 8 weeks. Not due to illness, not even with any of my other pregnancies, which were difficult in the first trimester. I've always had rough first trimesters, but this was something else entirely. I think that there's a number of factors involved, but probably one of the most important is that my previous pregnancy I went through very much entirely on my own because my husband was still working overseas and living overseas, and he hadn't managed to make the move to the US yet. And it was, I gave birth alone without him here, and I had to manage that postpartum period with almost no care at all and 2 other little babies to look after. So physically, I took a beating. I think more than anything else, it was the lack of postpartum healing and care needed for a new mother that showed itself this time around in all the hardship I faced, especially since even after my husband was able to move back, which was months after my baby had been born, almost close to her first birthday, we dove straight into trying to make a life and support ourselves here, to support our life, to make income, just the everyday things that preoccupy people. So I put myself fully into Wool in the Forest and delayed, I guess, my recovery and healing from my previous pregnancy even more. So I think all of that got on top of each other and gave me this very difficult introduction into my 4th pregnancy. So that is why things have changed dramatically for my family and for this entire thing that we're doing here. Obviously, I will talk more about how we plan on proceeding with Wool and the Forest, with Patreon, with everything as we go forward. Obviously, the picture of how we're going to manage this, knowing that I will need to take a back step soon in the coming months. That picture will become more clear to us. We've already been speaking about it, of course, and coming up with ideas on ways to do things differently. But I just wanted to say that it will change, of course. And I understand if some of you who have been supporting our work expecting a certain level or a certain frequency of content or output, as it were, might be disappointed and may not want to support us anymore, considering that the amount of work and output that I'll be able to get out there is going to be reduced significantly, and it will get reduced towards the end of the pregnancy. I have actually recovered quite a bit since the first trimester passed away. I just bounced back to not my normal self, but my health returned, and I was able to eat and walk around and move and not be so phenomenally ill as I was. But I am still pregnant, and my pregnancy is growing, so it's limited my capabilities in terms of how much heavy work I can do. And that includes all the more physical parts of my art, mostly dye work. Dye work is going to be something that I will have to scale back quite a lot in about 2 months at the most. I think 2 more months is the time I'm looking at where I'll be able to do some significant dye work, and then things will have to calm down quite a bit. So in terms of the most immediate thing that we have to look forward to is that we've decided that we will do one big boutique opening coming up in the first week of March, or somewhere around early March, in which I will release a lot of my indigo work and textile and fiber things, and wearable art, all these things that I really wanted to get out in October. It will all hopefully be available through a boutique opening in March, and that will probably be my last big event that I'll be able to single-handedly manage. After that, Arik will start to take a lot more of a larger role in what we offer through Wool and the Forest, because from the very beginning of Wool and the Forest, one of the most important things for us was bringing our combined skills and artistry to offer that. So Arik has his incredible skills in woodworking and just working with wood in all kinds of beautiful ways. And I think that going forwards, more of his work will start to come to the fore and mine will take a little step back, or we will combine both and we will find textile work that matches with his own work, that can be done in a quieter and less sort of physically strenuous way for me, so that I can continue to stay a part of this. But as I said, it's all works in progress, trying to get a clearer picture of how we're moving forwards. So I think more podcasting is definitely on the books for this first half of this year, because I feel like that's going to be one of the few ways in which I'll be able to share with you and stay connected with you about everything I'm doing. So I hope that gives you guys a kind of a clear idea. Well, I'm not being very specific, am I? But that's mostly because even we haven't quite figured out the specifics. And we know that whatever happens, that we will make the best of it, and we will do our best, give all that we can give in our current circumstances to this project to keep it alive. So we're not giving up on Wool and the Forest. We're not giving up on A Small Life Lived Well. I am certainly not giving up on my making and art, my textile arts. Absolutely not. It's just that the pace at which it can happen And the consistency with which it can happen is obviously going to slow down, and then eventually, probably for me, in once baby is born, have to slow, go down completely for a while, and then it'll come back up. It's like the seasons. It's everything that we speak about, the way in which I live with such close alignment with nature, that nature goes from one phase to the next effortlessly. And even though I struggled quite a lot in the first week when I found out that I was pregnant, the level of anxiety that I had, the level of sort of, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I just put everything out there. I just started something to support the family. How are we going to do this going forwards? And there was so much what if, and the fear of uncertainty. And then at one point that was really because of being so ill, which turned out to be such a blessing in the end. I just surrendered completely. And I said, it will be what it will be. The cycle will take me where it wants to go. This pregnancy has gifts and lessons and precious, precious revelations waiting for me that I need to accept and embrace and be receptive to. And on the other side, another cycle will begin. And eventually, when the time is right, everything that needs to come forth through me will come again. So it's going to be an interesting couple of years for sure, the next 2 years, to see how we come right back kind of up to a different version of that place where we were when we first launched everything last year, around September. So anyway, I hope that's given you an idea of how things will go forwards with us. And I hope, of course, we hope that you will stick around, that you will stay with us and support us and continue to be by our sides as we walk through this journey. But if you're finding, obviously, that the pace and the amount of content coming is not what you would want to support or is not satisfactory, we completely understand. This is just the way things go for us. So we just wanted to put that out there and be completely open and transparent with you about how this is impacting us as a family, and go forwards from there, hopefully together. Okay, so just a little sip. I think now would be a moment for me to take 1-2 minutes out to just settle ourselves into a moment for silence, to bring some stillness into our day, and see how that goes. So once again, as we always do, if you're sitting, sit comfortably with your spine erect and your feet either firmly on the floor or tucked up underneath you. Hold your palms up, resting on your lap or on your knees. Gently close your eyes and allow your breath to settle. Just watch as your breath settles down, back down into a beautiful, deep, natural rhythm. You don't have to breathe in any particular way. Just observe your breath and see that if you were breathing very shallow, your breath will start to become deeper. And if your breaths were coming quick and fast, they will slow right down. Each inhalation and each exhalation getting slightly longer every time. Once you've done that a couple of times, bring all your attention, all your focus to that little point just outside your nostrils, just outside, where you can feel your breath coming in and your breath going out. Just observe that for a few more breaths. And now take a deep breath in through your nose and let it out through your nose as slowly as you can. And gently, very gently, open your eyes. So, I hope that brought you a little moment of peace in your day. I think I have a very few minutes to show you all very quickly some of the things I've been making. I have been sewing a lot over the last month, over December especially. It was my firstborn's birthday, so there were dresses to be made, there were things to be finished, and I have a couple of things here to show you, a few things. One of the things that really gave me a lot of joy to work on was my first daughter, my oldest daughter's birthday dress, which was made out of this gorgeous, gorgeous hand-woven silk. If you can see that, a most beautiful hand-woven silk. It's raw silk, worked on a hand loom, and it was a sheer joy to work with, a sheer joy. And I turned it into this beautiful sort of fairy dress with lovely puff sleeves and lots of tears, which gave me a lot of tears to actually work on. But that I'll leave for next time to speak to you about. And I also, just in time for Midwinter and for solstice, for our celebrations here as a family, I also used the same pattern, which was a lovely pattern, by the way. I'll speak more about it again in the next episode, but I hardly ever sew from other people's patterns. I always draft my own clothes, and even for the girls, but this time, having been ill, I just didn't have the time to be drafting and grading for two girls. So I used the same pattern and made a different version of it using yet another hand-woven silk, except this time this is the fabric was taken from one of my mother's very old hand-woven silk organza saris that she had given to me, but for whatever reason I just found that I never wore it. It was just sitting there on my rack, not being used, and not being able to fit another expensive piece of hand-woven fabric for our family's budget for December. I was looking around trying to, come up with an idea to give her an equally special dress. And I thought this was the best use for a sari that was just never going to get used or worn again. And it's very, very beautiful. It turned out gorgeously in the end. So they were both very happy. They had their own handmade dresses from their mum. That was some very happy sewing that I did over the midwinter period. And of course, there was also my very big project, which was this wonderful quilt that I finished recently. I can't possibly show the whole quilt to you. Just like this, so we're gonna have to probably do some photos that will conveniently pass by. But this fabric is something I have shared in a previous podcast. This one I clamp dyed with indigo, and then over the clamp dyed fabric I did this eco printing, which has really become kind of one of my things that I love to do, eco printing on indigo. And then I cut up that fabric and used it to make this quilt. Now this quilt deserves really its own episode to really speak about properly, so I will save that for the next one. But this is something I have finished in the last couple of weeks, really, hand quilted. And it's being used very happily by its recipient, who's my first daughter. So the second part of this, which is the quilt for the second daughter, is also being made right now. And maybe by the next time I podcast, it will be ready. But that's been another bit of happy stitching. And something else I've been working on, and if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen these. I offered a little free pattern for the Christmas period of these sweet little baubles, these crocheted baubles. This one has come off a bit, but I'll show you that there's actually a few hanging in my studio, in my decor right here. Oh, there's one there, there's one there. And they looked very, very pretty on our tree this year. They're these sweet little baubles, and oh my goodness, they've given me hours of such joy to make them. They're so addictive. In fact, I'm thinking of continuing to make these so that I have a ton to work with, to just put all around the house when next Midwinter comes along. Because, oh, they're absolutely gorgeous. So they're crocheted in two parts. So the first circle, then the second circle, and then basically down the edge here they're woven, not woven, but you use basket stitch or mattress stitch actually to stitch the two ends together around an old bauble. Now, this is an old bauble, but I also made ones which were stuffed with wool. They're just lovely, and I will put the link in the video description box below to the free pattern. I made a little reel doing like a tutorial and the pattern included in there. So if you wanted to sort of, really be prepared for next midwinter, and you just wanted something fun to make during the winter period, it's just lovely. And it's a free pattern. It's just on my Instagram reels. You can go and have some fun with it. It's got a little bit of mosaic, crochet, very easy, very, very fast, just utterly satisfying to make. Sweet little baubles. So I have made a lot of those and had a lot of fun with them. I've also done a little bit of sort of post-Christmas knitting after a long time, and I made some hats. This is a sweet little no pattern. Again, I just made up the pattern as I went along. It's a hat for my husband, for Arik, with a nice little garter brim and these single cables just sort of weaving their way around. Didn't really plan it out much, just started and did a bottom-up hat, which I haven't done in a long time, and I realize more and more as the years go by that I love bottom-up knitting. I love knitting hats bottom-up. I like knitting garments bottom-up. I definitely do not want to knit my socks any other way than toe-up or bottom-up. So I have gone back to being a completely bottom-up knitter, and I will speak more about that, of course, as we go forwards, about why that's happened and all that. But these were really fun to make. They were very quick, and I think this was made out of an old yarn. May even have one with a ball band here. I can't remember the name of them. They're 100% wool, like all the yarns I knit with. And I believe they came from Peru. I'm just unsure of the name, and I'll put it in after the fact here on the screen so you get to see it. So I made one of those, and I also made another hat for Arik's father out of some of my own indigo dyed, hand dyed yarn. And those two things kept me busy and happy over time period we were snowed in the house. And I believe that's it. Very fast sharings, which I will go into deeper depth and tell you the stories of next time. So once again, I'm going to leave you today with some beautiful changes in the Verge pictures. We were enjoying the midwinter so much that we did not take the camera out and do any kind of recording of the beautiful, beautiful winter wonderland this place turned into, but we did take pictures. And towards the very end, I will share a nice little montage of pictures of our winter wonderland over the midwinter period. I hope you enjoy that. And once again, if you are returning, please, thank you so much for coming back to the podcast, for coming back to Wool in the Forest, for supporting our work. And if you are a new listener, I hope you're intrigued and you want to go back and listen a little more and stay with us. Big news, big changes, and so much beauty, so much life to look forward to. I feel like I'm bursting with it, really. Ever since I started to feel better after that initial illness, I have just been lit from the within with life. It's all I can explain. It's just a lightness, an exuberance has filled me that I am so grateful for, despite all the hardship and uncertainties that our family, at least physical hardship, that we will face in the next while going forwards. I would not have it any other way. It's a beautiful life, isn't it? All right, see you next time. Bye.